To be a pro builder, you need to use these 5 tips I'm giving you in this video. So let's get right into it. Tip 1. You need to add detail to your build. As you can see here, rather than just doing a basic tiled path, I've used these 1x2 and 1x1 studs to add texture to the path and bring more detail. Furthermore, I've used these little plant pieces to be able to bring even more life to the build. This helps to bring life to your build and makes it more interesting to viewers. That's tip 1 for your master builder. The next tip to become a master builder, you need to use snot. Not snot like you'd think, but it's bricks, which stand for studs not on top. They are bricks which have studs on the side of the building, allowing you to build cool, interesting things. This is an example of one of the bricks. So, let me show you some of the things you can build with snot. With snot, you can build a ball like this. There are also other things you can do, but use your imagination. With this ball, I could, rather than having it on all 4 sides, I could just have it on one of the sides and then use greebling, which is similar to the techniques, but it's just interesting part usage on like the side of buildings and things, especially space rockets. Now let's move on to the next tip. This tip is to use plant life. In everyday life, you see plants everywhere around you. Is that from a shop window, an office building, or even just out in the street? There are plants everywhere. So rather than just using LEGO's generic plant build, use your own plants and build your own trees. So let's show you one of the builds I use. So for this build, you only need some of these leaf elements, some 1x1 bricks, and a limb element. So what you do is you just stack up these 1x1 bricks. You can just then put the limb element on the top. However, to me, that looks like a bit of a dead tree. So then what I do is I take these leaf elements and just stick them all around the limb, which adds a nice canopy to the top of the tree. And these are quite simple builds which you can use anywhere, and then you can expand this to build even better trees. And the more elements you add, the better they can become. So I've just spent a minute on this, and you can already see this tree is coming to life. Something I always try to do though is build up the centre more than the rest outside, because trees normally have the thickest canopy up in the centre. Sometimes the bottom will just fall off. That's fine. Then you just stick that back on, and then ta-da, that took me a minute to build. And this is just a basic tree that can help make your city builds come to life even more. Now, the 4th technique is to use minifigures. Rather than just having them placed in your city or builds, position them to add stories and life to your builds. So let me show you the simple build I made. So yeah, so in this build you can see that it's a very simple build with just plates. And like I was saying with the detailing, it's detailed to have make it in like a alcove or ditch. And with the positioning of this minifigure, you can tell that he's about to shoot back any blaster fires from this other figure, especially if you understand Star Wars. And that's how they stand, rather than just having him stand straight on like this. It adds more life, because this looks pretty basic. However, when you just twist them and twist their heads slightly, this adds so much more life to the build. So that's the 4th tip. Now on to the final one. My final tip to become a pro LEGO builder is to add lights. You can take your city or build from this to this with just a few simple lights, adding a lot of life and lighting to the city, making it more believable and livable. And don't forget, you can get lights like these for 25% off with the link in my description, or with discount code Onewiththestud when you check out at Game of Bricks. That's all for today. This is Onewiththestud signing out. Bye!